Imagine having the confidence to deliver the most important speech of your life entirely in Mandarin Chinese, cracking jokes in front of your loved ones gathered for your wedding ceremony, and even throwing in some Sichuanese dialect for extra measure. Well, in today's video, I'm going to go through the story of Chris, a Mandarin learning student who 1 year ago concocted a plan to do exactly that. So last year, I received an email out of the blue from Chris, who had discovered my content on imlearningmandarin.com. And at that time, Chris had been learning Chinese around a full-time job outside of China for a few years, and he could hold conversations in the language, but his progress had somewhat stalled. And he told me that in exactly a year's time, he planned to host a lavish wedding ceremony with his Chinese wife in her native province of Sichuan in China. And to prepare for the event, he told me that he had two main goals. The first one was to go from being able to have conversations to being able to do so freely and with polished pronunciation, so that he could connect better with his Chinese wife's family. And his second goal was, as I just mentioned, to deliver his wedding speech entirely in Mandarin Chinese. And both of these goals were to be achieved while working full-time in the UK. So soon after that, Chris signed up to my 12-month coaching program, and we got to work focusing on the first 6 months on polishing his tones and really working quite hard on going back to basics with that, while also improving his general conversational skills. And to do this, Chris used my 4-step personalized immersion method. So the way this works is very simply: you first collect relevant phrases that are relevant to your daily life and conversations that you want to have. You collect this in the form of audio files, which you then immerse in while on the go, while doing chores, while commuting to work, always in the background, whatever you're doing. You then spend some time mimicking the phrases and sentence structures, using effective mimicking techniques to ensure that you're getting the pronunciation correct, alongside feedback. And finally, you take any opportunity you can to use these structures in natural conversations with native speakers. And if you're interested in learning more details about how you can apply the 4-step personalized immersion method to your Mandarin learning, you can download my free cheat sheet on imlearningmandarin.com. Alongside this method, Chris also used the website Hack Chinese, which is one of the best resources out there, to test yourself on your ability to recall the tones, pronunciation, and characters for known vocabulary. Now, in a separate video, we documented Chris's progress at the 6-month mark, where I conducted an interview with him entirely in Mandarin Chinese, and I've included a link to that video in the description. And for the second half of the program, we used the same method, but this time shifted the focus a bit more towards preparing for his wedding speech. So Chris and I would meet periodically so that he could practice delivering the wedding speech, and I could give him feedback specifically on his pronunciation, tones, and delivery.
大家下午好，欢迎来到美丽的喜洲。今天玩得开心吗？
The first line is the most unnatural, and then it starts getting a lot more natural.
Gotcha,
so the first
okay.
one still feels like the most forced of everything. 大家下午好. It's just very kind of
Okay.
sort of labored. So after persistent hard work, the time eventually came for Chris to fly out to China. And on the eve before he flew out, I caught up with him to see how he was getting on, how he was feeling about the biggest day of his life. You're leaving for China next week, is it on Thursday?
Yeah, it's getting pretty close now. I actually can't believe how quick the time has flown by. Let's see on the day if I'm feeling nervous. I imagine once I'm stood up there, I will be. But yeah, I mean, we've done a few practice runs. We've prepared quite a bit. So speech-wise, touch wood, everything should be fine. And then, yeah, as you say, general Chinese level, I'm feeling confident. Like, I think, yeah, as you say, my Chinese has improved a lot since we first met. So it should be okay in terms of conversing with family. Touch wood.
Yeah. You'll smash it.
Thanks, Misha.
Then a couple of weeks later came the big day itself. And let's have a look at this clip of Chris delivering his wedding speech to see how he got on.
今天玩得开心吗？开心。很好。能用中文在大家面前演讲，对我来说意义非凡。小姨告诉我，芳芳，猪猪不是你的老婆，她是你的婆娘，而且不只是我的家人，我见到志勇以前的同事在哪里？那边，他们的耳朵都快被扯掉了，所以现在我想请大家一起。为这些四川的男人们鼓掌，帕尔多们，兄弟！最后，我要用最重要的人来结束，我的老婆，女性伙伴，也是一辈子的好朋友，所以我想敬猪猪一杯，谢谢你答应嫁给我，而且我也保证永远听你的话，不介意，不抱怨。做你最忠实的仆人。
谢谢大家的到来，我请。
So it's fair to say that Chris absolutely nailed it. His family were in stitches whenever he was cracking jokes. He was able to deliver it confidently and clearly, and he was really happy about the way it all turned out. So a couple of weeks later, he arrived back in the UK and I did a video call with him to interview him once again in Mandarin and catch up to reflect with him on the experience.
Hello Chris，
嗨，Misha，最近怎么样？
最近很好，你呢？
很好，很好，比较忙，但是还可以。
这是你6个月第一次用中文接受采访，你觉得自己的中文有变化吗？
你觉得吗？开玩
应
笑，
该有吧。
对对对，这个6个月我一直在学中文，特别是婚礼前，所以现在我说中文比以前更放松，还是不
嗯，
完美，但是比以前好很多。我
对对
希望你能听出来。对，
对，我觉得大家都能听到，这6个月以前我们录的那一期播客，你现在的中文比那个时候流利多了。
嗯，我也觉得，我也觉得，对。
嗯，那你1年前刚开始跟我上课的时候，你给自己设定主要目标是什么呢？
那时候我有2个目标，一个是提高我的发音，因为那时候虽然我可以用中文聊天，但是发音不太好，也有时候人听不懂我的
嗯
说话。还有一个目标是提高我的句子结构，
嗯
特别是因为我要去中国结婚，因为我知道那时候肯定需要说很多中文。所以这个是一个很大的考验。对，
嗯，你觉得这几个月哪种学习方法对你帮助最大？
我觉得自学是最好的方法。因为现在有很多免费的学习方法可以自己用，所以自学特别方便。
嗯
方便。这也是为什么我觉得跟你一起学习比跟比较传统的中文老师学校更好，学习更好。
嗯。那最近你跟我说你的婚礼中，你跟你的那个亲戚沟通的时候，你完全没有沟通障碍，完全没有问题。那当时你有没有一种特别的成就感？
嗯，是的，对对对。那时候我感觉非常好。对，对我来说很特别，因为我的爱尔兰家人和朋友都在中国，所以我
嗯
可以带他们一起玩，像他们
嗯，
的比较导游一样。我
哦，
觉得，
对对，
对，我觉得很开心。
因为他
而且。
们一点中文都不会说，
对对，一
完全不
点中文，
会中文。嗯。
我也对，完全不会。对，所以我觉得这个很开心，而且我也可以和中国这边的家人更好交流，这种感觉也很好。
那你在婚礼上用中文做演讲的那一刻，你紧张吗？
实际上不紧张。对，
不紧张。
因为对不紧张。对，因为我做了很多学习，所以我知道会很好。我
嗯。
感觉非常放松。你的支持真的帮了我很多，所以我需要给你说再次感谢。我感觉很骄傲，非常开心，特别是因为他们都在笑，我很骄傲自己可以用中文让别人笑。
嗯，
呃，可能我需要换工作，在中国当一个 comedian，不知道用中文怎么说，comedian。
喜剧演员。嗯，
对
对。
对。不过说真的，我很开心，也很感谢。最让我印象的一天是我们去我老婆的外公家的时候，
嗯。
因为他的家人都不会说英语，但是
哦。
我们聊天很多。有时候我忘了我们在说中文，感觉非常自然。对。这让我很惊讶，这个
嗯，
是很好的体验。
那就证明了你的中文进步的很大。
每年我去看我的中国家人，我的中文都越来越好，但是这次旅行感觉很好。现在
嗯
我觉得我可以和他们交流，没问题。
嗯，
我真的觉得我们是一家人，所以我很开心，也很感激。
那你回顾这一整年的学习，你觉得最大的突破是什么呢？
呃，这个问题很难。我觉得我最骄傲的部分是我努力学习了1年， 因为一年很长，有的时候我工作很忙，或者在旅行，或者放假，但是我们两个每个月都会有一次见面。我也一直记得我的目标，我的中国婚礼。如果我可以给你的听众一个建议，如果你的老婆或者老公是外国人，比如中国人，一定要学他们的语言，你不会后悔的。对，这个是我的建议。
So we've come
没错。
to the end of the 1 year coaching program, and you've just come back from China, where you had your wedding, as we kind of briefly discussed in the Chinese interview. So tell us a bit more about what that was like for you, going to the kind of culmination of this year's hard work that you've put into learning Mandarin.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. Really, like it was so rewarding because I think, yeah, as you know, we've invested so much time kind of working together over the last year. So it was just such a rewarding feeling to actually see it pay off. Because yeah, about 20 or 25 people all came over from Ireland. We had our wedding there. I was kind of able to, yeah, to help everyone when they were in China. Very comfortable speaking with my wife's family, and obviously the icing on the cake was the speech in Chinese as well. So
Mm.
yeah, amazing.
And you just said something that was quite surprising in the Chinese interview, that you weren't that nervous when it came to giving the
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah, I thought it would be, but I was probably more nervous for the chat we just had right now, to be honest, because I hadn't
Yeah.
prepared as much. Like I think, but when you've really prepared something well,
Mm.
then you feel less nervous. So yeah, I think because you and I had worked on my Chinese over the last year and we'd kind of worked together on the speech as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I just had a feeling it was going to go well, and thankfully the jokes landed, and yeah, people seemed to enjoy it, so it was
Yeah, we
great.
can see in the video everyone was kind of laughing along to the jokes. The delivery was very clear, like mixed in some humor in there as well. So it was great to see. You sent me a text message while you were in China, I think it was, where you said basically following your wedding, you just found that your Chinese was you were able to communicate much more easily, much more
Mm.
fluently with your in-laws and with your like Chinese relatives, your wife's family than before. Describe that kind of the difference between what was it like the last time you were in a situation where you were surrounded by your Chinese family, which I think would have been about 6 to 8 months ago when you traveled to China last, versus now. What
Mm.
was that difference like?
Yeah, yeah, spot on. It was last January, so yeah, night and day, really. Like I've been able to converse with my Chinese family for, years now, going over and back, but never to the level of comfort that I had this time.
Mm,
I think because you and I have had such a structured, consistent plan over the last, year, it really paid off. Just felt very comfortable. Like I just said to you now in the Chinese conversation, I forgot I was speaking Chinese a lot of the time when I was chatting with them. Just felt really natural, which is,
mm.
yeah, that's been the biggest difference. So yeah, night and day.
Yeah, one thing you find is that like once you get to a certain level, like the level you're at now, where you're able to communicate freely and you can understand like really well what's going on in conversations at this kind of conversationally fluent level, is that like that doesn't really fade very quickly. You can allow yourself to have a bit of a break now, and like
Mm.
it's not going to disappear kind of thing. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's the goal that I think is a really useful one for people to set with their Mandarin. Get to a level where you've kind of got it for life almost. Obviously, like if you don't use it for years, it's going to gradually
Mm.
fade, but it won't fade quickly, and it will always kind of still be there in the background. Like if I don't use Chinese for months, which has happened to me sometimes in the past, at first I'm a bit rusty, but it takes me about 1 to 2 weeks to get back to that level. And I think that's kind of what you'll find going forward as well.
I completely agree. And yeah, that's why, like, when you were asking me there what my goal is now, I feel like I mean, obviously so much room to improve still, but yeah, I've kind of reached a point that I'm quite happy with now. So,
Mm.
yeah, as you say, I'm hoping now, anytime I go back to China, obviously there'll be a bit feeling of rustiness for probably the first couple of hours, but then I'll be able to jump straight back into it.
And how did your relatives like react to to your transition from the last time they heard you speak to now?
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very impressed. I mean, it's funny because when I went to them in January, I'd been working with you for 4 months. So even at that point, they were already like, wow, this is a big, big change. And this time, even more so. And then there was some extended family I hadn't met in a few years, and they were like shocked because when I
Mm.
first met them 3 or 4 years ago, my Chinese was much weaker than it is now. So yeah, I was really happy to have that. Not to just impress them or anything, but really just so we can have a genuine connection and conversation, which is great.
Yeah, and just at the end of the Chinese interview, you gave some advice for any learners out there. If there's learners who aren't yet at a level where they could understand the Chinese, could you give them that advice in English before we finish?
Yeah, what I think, yeah, what I said was like, if you've got a Chinese partner, or maybe there's people listening who aren't learning Chinese, maybe it's a different language, but if your partner's from another country, I couldn't recommend enough learning their language, even if it's not something you're going to use day to day, even if you and them communicate in English, it's just such a rewarding thing to be able to connect with their culture, with your in-laws. It makes a massive difference. So couldn't recommend it enough.
So if you're impressed with Chris's results, don't forget you can download a cheat sheet for free containing details of the method that he used to achieve his success in Mandarin learning on imlearningmandarin.com. So that's it for today's video, and I'll see you back here soon for more Mandarin learning success stories.